amazing day to talk about the amazing, fantastic FileMaker and Claris platform now. I am here with the wonderful, wonderful Nick Hunter, who is one of the premier developers, I think, of FileMaker, around. He is really well known for his UI UX stuff and also for having a really wide variety of cool tips and tricks in working mostly inside of FileMaker exclusively to get FileMaker to do some really cool things. With that being said, let's discuss our training schedule. So we have Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday FileMaker calendars. We're finishing that out Wednesday, Thursday, then Friday will be an open Q&A. If you would like to support the channel, we would greatly appreciate it. But we have the FM Training annual subscription bundle. We got two options here. They're both 100 plus hours of really high energy video training content given to by Richard, Nick, Jacob, a bunch of people there that you guys are familiar with, and they're fantastic developers and really great trainers. And if you have no idea what you're doing, you can very easily go from going I have no idea how to do anything in FileMaker to I am a pretty confident FileMaker developer who can execute on my own projects very shortly. With that being said, Nick, I have finished my opening spiel. What are we doing today?
Hello, everybody. So thank you for the introducing, and so today we do the second day of the calendar. Okay, so about the topic of the calendar. Before, when each time I had to use the calendar, I was reluctant. I was doing this at the end. I didn't want to deal with it and stuff like that because of this SQL stuff. And it was I was so concentrated on getting this SQL stuff to work that I was, treating like a piece of, like a house of cards, right? So, and because it was so difficult to get it done working, because even if you are a SQL guy, you have so many things to understand that it will prevent you to improve and change and discover how this stuff works, right? So, but before to go further, I want to. Yesterday we had some question about the JSON, and so I will explain a little bit of this, and then I will have another webinar, or I think one day webinar about how to manipulate JSON, how to create JSON, because many people have problem with JSON, and I have a lot of question on LinkedIn and other platform like this. They ask, well, JSON, because we have the tool with FileMaker, right? But it's easy, quite easy to read a JSON from outside, but it's not easy to build one, to create one with FileMaker, especially when you have to build an array based on records and not on fields. That means, so you have every element of the JSON is coming from a record. So after many days of problem with this, I came with a technique using, of course, the list of values, and so I'm going to explain that in the next webinar. So let me share the screen right quick here, and so yesterday, so I explained in depth how to replace the SQL with a single, very simple relationship, and I explained the benefits. The benefits is that you don't need to limit the number of records, because FileMaker will limit that for you using a relationship, right? And you can add all what you need to add in your relationship, right? So tomorrow we are going to explore how we can, limit, filter, right? How to filter the calendar. And because now we use pure 100% FileMaker technology, We can use everything that we explained in our webinar, which is using tags, the 1-0, using the filters technique that we have, the go-to-records technique. We can even search by typing something using the, transfer font set or whatever. So I will show you that, and that tomorrow. Today I want just to go and show how to manipulate the calendar using the relationship, using all what we discovered yesterday, right? But before I want to explain the JSON. So the first JSON is used in the calendar because it's a native type of file that JavaScript is using, right? It's so it's native for them, and it's not that complicated for us. Okay. Believe it or not, I'm using JSON also on different kind of stuff. So that's what I'm going to explain in the next webinar, right? We can use JSON to our benefits. And I will, show you that. So now here we have multiple calendars. So yesterday I showed that I have multiple calendars. So let me refresh a little bit. So I have calendars for the projects, So in the project I have the tasks, right? And the tasks, here we have a calendar. And here we have a calendar based on day by day, right? It's not a period. It's a day by day thing. Okay. We have another calendar here that shows a period, right? From that to that, right? And then we have another calendar, both showing, a period for the project, but per staff, right? And using the calendar for the tasks by staff, right? So, and we can do that without difficulties because we use a mere relationship. Then I want to, yesterday I told you that the best way to handle a calendar is to have a unique source of data. So let me explain. The calendar needs two tables, right? The first table is where we have the calendar code. This is where we have the calendar code, the JavaScript code. So this table has only one record, right? You can see here. But this table has only one record. And pretty much the advantage of using that technique, getting the table with one record, is everything you do. See, here we have 43 fields, but only one record. When you have one record and stuff like that, you can directly point to that using a Cartesian link, right? Look, for example, here in that calendar here, right? I'm using one link from that table, right? One relationship to that table using a Cartesian link, right? Because I have one record, so I don't care. It's just what I want. It's a connection to it's a connection to the table. So I'm still sick. T09. So if I go to the T09N, you see M here. You see it's a Cartesian link. So it's whatever to whatever, and with this link. So that it's just to display the code, right? So many people are using the calendar. They point to me and say, okay, yeah, but if you have many different source of, what's the name? Different type of calendar, but I don't want to have multiple table for each calendar. Like for example, here I have two types of calendar. I have the calendar for the tasks and I have the calendar for the project. Even though the calendar for the project is fed with the task, right? So pretty much when I go to the project here, right, what do I want to display on the calendar is those two dates, from the start date to the end date, right? But these dates here, I don't decide, is based on all my tasks, is going to take the minimum of all the tasks and the maximum date of all the tasks. And that is the range of my project. If I go anywhere, so here I said 30th of December, but if I change this and I add one date here and I said 2023, like 19th of January, right? And I go back to projects. So of course now my project will change. It will be, automatically I said, okay, the maximum of the minimum still the same, and the maximum now changed to 2023. So now, of course, when I will display my calendar, the calendar will change. But you know that I show you that the calendar is feeding on one unique table, right? This one, project P. Okay, yeah. So I could have two tables, one table for the task and another table for the project. But instead, because in that table, I have everything set up, right? So I don't want to duplicate things, because when you do a modification in one table, you need to do modification in another one. And so and that when you do that, when you have duplication, replication in your solution, you build bugs. You build because you forget, or and so because here the calendar is fitting in different fields. It needs fields, right? And if you don't, the calendar won't work. So what fields the calendar needs, right? The calendar needs the fields. Okay, so yesterday I explained to you how the calendar works. You have the fields for the code, the field for building the environment, the UI, for the calendar with display, month, days. And then you have what's inside those things, the data that the calendar is going to display. And to display this, the JSON file, the JSON code is inside the table, the source table, the data source table, where you have the information of that date start, date end, time start, that time end. Or if you have the full day, if it's a full day, if it's flag full day, all day, right? So if you want to show it on calendar, right? All of those things, there's information that you need to send to the code, to the Java code in a JSON, and the Java code is going to read that JSON. Okay. So for example, here you see here I have information here. So I'm building things here, right? So that the calendar needs. So you understand that why you don't want to duplicate that, right? So it makes sense. You could, but it's better not to do, right? So here in the JSON, so I want to explain the JSON. So this is how the JSON is built, right? Each element of the JSON is built here, right? So you format it to read it correctly. So what the format is doing, let's say I'm copying this piece of code, right? So let's copy this, right? So I'm copying this piece of code, and of course I'm going to the right table, which is the T115, to make sure that I can display correct things. No. Okay. So let's analyze this a little bit. So this is T115. Okay, and here the same T115 because this needs to, we need to put T115 on everything. So it will make the thing a little bit more complex to read. That is the reason why, see, now this is totally, completely unreadable, right? I think you agree with me, right? So time zone, is missing title, flag all day, flag all day, flag all day, BG color, text color. So now, which one? So I have a trick here. When you are in a data viewer and you want to see, you want to know which one is not, it said that, you unclick this and you click evaluate, and it will tell you where, it will point you where, here, you see you have an error here, you click evaluate, and it said, okay, now you have here, and you click evaluate, now it's working, right? So you can click evaluate, and it will point you where the first error is found, it will show you, right? If you do automatically evaluate, it ignore this and it show you table missing or question mark, right? So that's a good trick. So now this calc is totally, completely unreadable because we repeat many things. Quotes, date, format, boom, this one, this. We could have done a better job here and, with the let statement, but it's okay. So here you have this, right? So this is a JSON. So we use the JSON formats, right? Because otherwise it reads like this. So it's complicated to read, right? And so we put formats to, to present it like this, right? So this is the goal of this function here, right? So what's the name? The code will read this, the title, right? It will read the text color if there's one, the start date, the end date, the ID, the color of the background, and if it's an all day, true or false, right? So this is how this is what the calendar will read. Of course, we have multiple of them because we have multiple records, right? So that's why when you have this in FileMaker, right, we use so like if I go there, right, we use this, HTML, and we use this. For example, if I am in the projects here, we use this, right? So yesterday I explained. So we use the list. So we do this, right? We are in that table. We are in the T17 project T17. So we use this relationship, not the SQL, to get this. So it's the list, right? Remember yesterday I showed you it's a list. So it will read that field of the JSON of this. It will read one and it will put them as a list. But when you remember, I told you that we need to have a comma between two elements. So we add comma like this. We replace this with this. So we have this. So yesterday, I think this Michel Gravel came with the question. So yeah. So missed yesterday. So Michel, tu peux rappeler la question? Okay, so I'm asking Michel if he can. I think it's Michel, right? Michel Gravel. So this is how you use JSON, right? Because all the color and start color title, right? This is where the code is going to read, right? The information, right? So if you go to the code itself, right? If we go to the code, we go there, right? Is where it's going to read this, right? It's going to read information here in the events, right? That everything will be read there, right? So this is where it collects events. It's the list of that JSON, right? And then the code will put where the code here. It will put the thing where it should go, right? It will go in, and all the code, all the thing here will get the information from the JSON and put the thing there, right? So that's why you cannot rename things. Or if you want to rename, you need to rename the code itself, right? But I don't rename. The JSON need to be organized the way it is here. Key down, right? So the JSON file, don't touch this, right? This. You need to have this stuff like this. So, for example, you want to know in the code, so I'm going to show you a trick, right? You want to know in the code where all day is used, for example, right? So you go to the code here, go in the code, and you go to the full calendar code here. So you have many fields here, right? And you want to know where something is, put. You go to edit, find, replace, and you define, and you say all day, where all day. Okay, all day is there. So we have one all day here. You can say find next, all day. So you see, that's why it needs to be done like this. It need to be named like this. You cannot rename the thing like this. See, so you can work through the code, and it will go next, and you can see where you have all day, right? If you want to do the same with title, you see title is here. So the code we read, and you say find next, you see, and you find the text inside the code, right? And you can do this, and you can say all fields. So that means even though you're here and you say you want to find title, it will go to all the fields, and you go to the next field, you go to the next field, you go to the next field, etc. Right? So you can work through your code using that find, because you cannot do find. This find, we find text in fields in the current record, because we don't have all record, we have only one record, so that's why this is not available. And you can say match case or match word only, right? So you have options here. So this is the best tool, right? Of course, don't press this because otherwise you will replace with nothing. But you use find next to work through your code and land where you want to intervene and change, I don't know, something, right? So I don't know if Michel wrote the, so now, do we have a question about JSON before we go further?
I was like, why didn't you hear me? Okay, so we got a question. Michelle Gravel says he doesn't have a question about JSON, but we've got one from Ruben.
Okay, Ruben.
Ruben's question is, what if curly bracket P is in the JSON code itself and not only between JSON objects? It will be substituted by curly bracket comma P, right?
Yeah, but I don't see how that. I don't know if I understood everything.
Kind of a weird question because it's JSON. I'm going to copy it to you in Slack so you can read it.
Yeah, so I don't think it is possible to get this. What if? No, yeah, bracket P is not P, it's carriage return.
Yeah, that's he said the P means carriage return, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, P, if you have this in your code, that means you mean if you have this in your data, that's what you mean, right? So if let's say if you have in your if you have in your task list, you go there and you say this, for example, here you say this, here, okay, here, this, and carriage return, right? If you have this, right? Yeah, it will replace it. It will, but yeah, it will replace it. So we can do that. If you have this problem, we can do another way. Okay, we can insert the comma in the list in the field itself, right? But really, to get this opportunity, to get this thing here, I don't know. You can prevent. In that case, you can prevent the character to get there. Okay. So how you do this? So how you can prevent to type a character? First of all, I will have avoid the carriage return in the name of the summary. First of all, so if you don't have carriage return, the problem solved. But if you want, right, you can say on object keystroke, right, and you can use a script that I have here that says prevents prevent a character to be struck, right? So I don't have this here, but you can prevent the character to be struck, right? So I don't have this script here, but I can show you tomorrow. I have a script that's based on the same technique here that you can say, oh, I don't want that character to be struck, right? So here it's weird that I have maybe it's the same. Yeah, I can use the same. I can use the same. Yeah, but I'm showing that tomorrow. You can prevent the character because the curly brackets. I don't know if you want to use that character, but yeah, but that's the other way to fix this. Okay. But it's a good question. It's valid. It's a valid question, right? So so let's go further. If we don't have any other question,
I think we're good.
Okay, we're good. So here I have one table and two types of calendar, right? So how I handle this? To have two type of calendar, right? But both calendars, they all use the same fields, right? The minimum fields. That means I need the calendar itself, the JavaScript code require those fields. No, the pcal. It requires those fields to be there, right? Those fields, right? They need to be there, right? So I need to feed date and date due, time and time due. I need to feed that, the title, the ID, the colors. I need to put that there, right? Otherwise, it won't work. So that's the minimum required. So I have two types of, of calendars. When I create, when I add, here I have multiple. So that's why using relationship in SQL is cool, because this here, there's no dates. I don't have dates yet. So that is not active. It's not. Remember, in my relationship here, to use, in my relationship to display on the calendar, right? To display on the calendar, right? This one, I need to be an active task, right? It needs to be active. So I have a tag, the famous tag, the 1, right? So what is making this tag, this active, right? So I have a case, right? I have a case that says, if the tag is complete, I want that to be 0, right? I don't want that to be displayed anymore. Okay. If the statute order equals 0, or if the statute order equals 3. So you see, this is easy to read because here I have the status, okay. But the status, I explained many times that I'm not using status with words. I'm using status with numbers, right? This, right? And then, right? And then I translate this as a text. So when it's complete, it's 4. So what's complete? Complete is tag complete. Is when you click complete, right? You click the box, that put the status in 4, right? When today, when the current dates, so for example, when is empty the dates, right? Not started, that is empty the date. That means I don't have dates in my, that is not started if I don't have dates. So it's 0. So 0 if the date superior to today is 1, if the date equal to today is 2. So here I have the translation of the numbers to be, defined, pending, in progress, finished, complete, right? So I have all my order, and you can see the benefits of getting numbers instead of getting text. Why? Because 0, I want that to be always on top. If I sort, I want that to be always on top, right? So 0 will be always before 1 if I sort by numbers. If I sort the records, 0 will be before 1, and 1 will be before 2. But if I sort the status by text, this will be at the end, this will be the first, this will be the second, the third, and the fourth, right? So yes, I know you can use a value list, sort by but this is a hack. So I prefer to use this. So the tag active is based on the statute order, and this is what it seems. Okay, if flag, if statute order equals 0, I want that to be 0. If that means 0, 1, the tag is 0, 1. If the flag is a project, right? I'm going to come that later, but so you understand how I'm defining active inactive, right? So when I put a date here, if I put a date here, that will become active because the date is not empty, right? So, but if I say complete here, if I click this, now this is complete. So it won't be shown on the calendar, right? So because of the tag active, the tag active, so you can have you can have a case that drives the 0 and the 1. Case 1, if the first case returns 0, the second case return 1. The first, you can do whatever you want with the case, right? So this is what I need to, but I have another distinction. To separate records in that tables, where I'm putting all my calendar data, you know, I have two distinctions. The first is the ID of the project and if the task is active or not. But the second, right, is whatever the record I have here, it's for task or for projects. So I have two flags here. I don't call that tags, I call that flag because then I can, recognize them. I flag them to be for projects, and that is for task. So because we use FileMaker relationship, we are free to do whatever we want. We are not no longer living in the other side of the force. So we here in that relationship, I say, okay, that is the relationship I use to display data in that for the calendar in the projects of the tasks, the calendar of the task in the project. So I link with the ID of the project. I want only the active task and only the one flag with task. Only the one I know they are for tasks, right? The flag task. Okay. And then I have another flag here for the projects. So for example, if I want for the project, these are the records in the calendar data table only used to display information of projects. So they are in the same table, but they are ignored when you want to display calendar information for the for the task. And in the task, those records will be ignored, because they are only displayed for projects. So when I go to this, for example, this calendar, I'm using here. So I'm using another relationship, right? And T115, and this is the relationship I use. And of course, I want the flag project. And here I have it's the flag projects. I have a bug, so I'm going to fix it. Okay. So I'm using this relationship. So I just want them to be show on calendar because you can have the choice not showing if you want, and only the record flag for projects. So you understand that thanks to that technique here, I have one table, right, to feed two type of data, and I'm recycle, right, the minimum number of fields in that table for another purpose. So how we do this? When I am in the project here, right? When I'm here, I want to modify. I want to create one record in the calendar kind of day stuff, right? In that table, I want to create a record with the minimum required fields. So I have a trigger on commit, right? So even though you create a new project, it's going to create the record. So I have an on record commit here, right? And I have a condition. So that's the beauty of this, because we use FileMaker. So we can prevent and we can drive and we can control everything we want, right? So that's a condition. I have a condition that I don't want to be able to create a calendar for the project if I don't have at least the foreman, requires to create calendar. So this here, right? If I don't have one, so I don't have, if I have a project here, if I don't have one, I won't be, the script, the onCommit script will never ever create the record to display the calendar information. It will never, right? Why? It's because if I don't have a foreman, this condition won't be fulfilled, and this will be ignored, right? So you see what I'm doing here. I have an onCommit record, okay, on record commit, and I'm setting a field in the other table with the information I want. So I want the date start, the date end, I'm reusing the task fields to display the title, but it will be the name of the project. And on the title, I'm using the contact name because this is how I want the thing to be displayed, right? So, but you use whatever you want, right? And then the status, active, inactive, pending, whatever, right? So I'm using those fields, right? Those fields in the other table, in the table project calendar days, right? Using this technique here, right? I'm going to create a record, right? With the project ID, the format ID, so the staff. So everything will be linked together, but I have no more thing to do. So let's demonstrate. So I'm going there, right? And I'm going to, so the current project, and I'm going to the table 115, the team, okay. And I'm looking for the projects, this one. Yes, but the projects, sorry, project, but with the flag project. I will have only one record. Yeah, I have 3 records, but I should have one. So let's delete this. So now I have no information for that project anymore. Okay? So these projects no longer have a calendar attached to it. Okay? So if I go to calendar, if I go to calendar, I won't see the project anymore. So how this script is working, okay? When I commit, here I'm looking if this condition is fulfilled. It is, right? And what happened in this? What happened here? See here I have 250. I'm going there. I'm going to set a field, right? But I'm using a relationship, right? I forgot which one it is. AG. So let's go to see this AG relationship. Yeah, but that now is going to create a relationship. Okay. I'm going to delete it again. Normally it's the, because it's created it. But I want to show you how to create this. So this one, I'm going to delete it. T17AG. Okay. So this relationship, I'm going to use all the IDs I need to transfer on the other side. So those are all what I need. I need the ID project, the ID estimate, the ID estimate version. And of course, I want to flag it as a project. So I'm not using a set field for that. I'm using the relationship with the creation. That being said, FileMaker automatically will say, okay, I'm going to set a field on the other side. But if the field is not, if the record, I'm going to set a field on the other side. But if there's no record matching the ID project, the ID estimate, the ID estimate version, and the flag project, if there's no, if I don't have one record with those information, automatically FileMaker will create another record on the other side, right? We create a record. Here I have 250. If we create up, and now I have 151. And now I'm setting. Boom. I do some pieces. And now this record here, right, is the record, this one, the last one, is the record I'm using for the project. So let's have a look at this. Okay. This record is flagged as projects, right? So, and the title is this. Remember, I said I want the project name, I want the name of the foreman, and I want the active, inactive, or whatever status, right? So that's the title of the calendar, right? And I have the due date and start date. So due date is 13th of July, and date end is 19th of January, which is correct, right? Right? So show at the calendar as I want to show it is flag all day, right? So I have all information I want, right? On one record, I'm recycling the record, I'm recycling the fields. Then I have one table, right, for projects and for tasks. And this flag, the flag, project flag, whatever, I don't know what it is, this will tell me whether is displaying on the calendar for project or the calendar for task. That's why now, if I go there, so this is a test 2, if I go there, in the calendar, I have test 2 is there, right? So, and this is to prevent the duplication of the table. Do we have any question?
Yes. People, not really like a question about this, but they kind of want to see, there's someone asking for an example of a timeline for 3 months.
For 3 months?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. You want to see a 3-month span? We have more than 3 months. We have October, November, December, January. So that is, oh, you
They
see?
want to do a timeline for 3 months. Yeah. I think that for.
So yeah, timeline for 3 months. I don't know. What a timeline? You want a project for 3 months?
Maybe, I don't know, because they're on YouTube, so their ability to respond is a little
okay,
slow.
yeah. But whatever, you can do whatever you want. You see, the calendar is showing month by month. It's not showing the most you can show on the calendar is month by month, right? We have a month view. Okay, you have the month view, month, week, day. Then you can navigate, but you don't have more, right? So you cannot see 3 months. I mean, you can, but we need to modify the code of the calendar. But everything got so small, right? So I don't know. I don't know. But here it will show the calendar based on whatever span that we have from July to January, so the half a year, right? So so it's up to you, right? Do we have any other question?
Nothing on Twitch, and then we got one from David.
Yes.
Do you have to create a JSON from each record the calendar is mapping from JSON?
Yes. So you have to have one record. For each record, you need a JSON array, right? You need a JSON elements for each record, right? So the code, the JavaScript code will read that to display information here, right? And I show you where, you have this code here, this code here is feeding on their JSON elements. So that's why they need to be named the right way, So that's why this here you cannot rename. You can rename your fields, okay? You can rename your fields. There's no problem. You can rename this. You can rename this. Especially now that we are free from SQL, right? But you cannot rename this. Otherwise, you need to go and rename your code everywhere. And I'm not sure even though it will work. Because this is like, oh, can I rename get current dates on FileMaker, right? Can I rename this? No, you cannot, right? It's like the same thing, right? This is like trying to rename get current date, right? So you cannot. This is expected to be there. It can be empty. Okay, you can do this if you want, right? But it needs to be there. And you can add a function if you go to the website, right? And you can add things. For example, Kelvin didn't have the text color. I added it, right? It has only the color, but not the text color. The text color, I added it because I needed it, right? Because sometimes you want to use a color, right? And the text, for example, if you have a very light color, like some of my customers like, very light, if you have a white text, it's not really readable, right? So you want a black text, but sometimes you have a darker color for the background, and then you want the white text. So that's why I added the text. So you can add in your JSON things, and then the Java code will use it, right? So yeah. So I don't want to go to. I don't want this to be too much of a calendar itself, right? But I understand the question. It's an interesting question, right? But here, Calvin, I think we have do we have a link to the Calvin's calendar webinar? I know he did it, right?
Yes, I linked it the other day. And just to check, this is the same, since this is Calvin's calendar, this is the same calendar that's an FMSP, correct?
Yes, exactly. That's the one, but the goal here was to remove the SQL and to use 100% FileMaker for the collection of information, the collection of data, right? And tomorrow I'm going to show how we use pure 100% FileMaker filtering in order to filter the calendar. And I'm going to show, because the reason why I wanted to remove SQL was this. When you want to do a filtering with SQL, you get really complicated there, right? When I say filter, is like having free fields, filtering on free fields, for example, right? And if one is empty, then get me everything, right? So SQL is, I know it's cool for that. I know it's cool. If you are a SQL guru, like a 60 years of SQLing, you can do it, right? But the advantage was to use the same technique. So the goal of this was to demonstrate, and I'm going to do that in the future, to demonstrate like the sort technique that I'm using. You have one technique, and you can reuse exactly the same technique for filtering portal, filtering records, filtering calendars, without changing anything in how to use the technique. Just using the same technique, but it's filtering the calendar, or it's filtering a portal, it's filtering records, right? A table. So it will be exactly the same technique that I'm showing. I showed. So tomorrow we're going to send the link of the filtering webinar that we have, and I'm going to apply the same technique of filtering a calendar, right? And without changing anything of the technique you used to use in your files, right? So that tomorrow.
I think we are good, and people will have questions tomorrow, I'm sure.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you very much, Nick.
Thank you everybody, and so see you tomorrow.
Yep, and everyone who's got questions, feel free to type them out, and then we can.
Yeah, we can read them tomorrow.
Yep. Boop boo. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep,
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir!